Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, on this episode of Bullet Points, we have got some new hotness coming out of Washington. Now, you guys know there's a magazine ban that's working its way from the Senate to the House. It's kind of in limbo. It may work, it may not work for the left. But the opinion pieces are coming out, and that's what we do on the Bullet Points, is we counter these opinion pieces because we ain't going to let them stand on their propaganda and, honestly, their arrogance and their sarcasm, because we can meet them on that battlefield. So that's what we're going to do. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below. I want to hear from you guys on this one because this magazine ban thing has got the left twisted, and you can see in this opinion piece, which we're going to dive into in 1 second. First, I got to read a message from our sponsor, Sportsman Guide. They have sponsored this week's videos and made these videos possible. So let's get into that, and then we're going to hit this Washington opinion piece. Whatever you're looking to put on the table this season, big game, turkey, fish, upland birds, waterfowl, Sportsman Guide has what you need to succeed. From the brands that you trust, we're talking Vortex, Scentlock, Irish Setter, Nomad, all the heavy hitters. And Sportsman's Guide isn't just a one-trick pony. They've got everything for your outdoor lifestyle, from camping, fishing, and hiking, to working outside and just hanging out with your buddies. The bottom line, if it happens outdoors, you'll find it at Sportsman's Guide. If you're ever there, use Langley20 for $20 off and check them out today. And thank you to Sportsman's Guide for making these videos possible this week. But now, let's dive into this Washington op-ed because this is the stuff that we need to counter, and that's why we're doing it. So, again, here's the opinion piece, linked in the description box. Enough with the Rambo cosplay. It's time for Washington to finally ban high-capacity magazines. Keep in mind, the framing of this article is all about the magazine ban or reduction from 30 to 10. Okay, all of the pre-existing magazines that have 30 or 20 or 15 plus, whatever, 30 maximum, they're perfectly legal in the state. They can stay in the state in this bill. They aren't being confiscated. They aren't being destroyed. They aren't being shipped out. They are staying there because they previously owned them. So nothing changes, which is why this bill makes no sense, but that's not going to stop this guy from going to town. Check this out. Last week, Democrats in the state Senate passed Senate Bill 5078, which would prohibit the making, distribution, and sale of firearm magazines holding more than 10 rounds. Passed on a party line vote, it's not the first time liberal lawmakers in Washington have attempted such a move. It failed earlier in 2020, which he goes on to say. But we covered this earlier. Like the end of this previous week, we talked about this magazine ban, and we're going to do another one on it. Because it doesn't make sense, and that's why it's going to struggle. I'm not saying it is or it isn't going to pass, but listen, you can hear the frustration here. It's important. While guns and our uniquely American obsession with them remain responsible for tens of thousands of deaths every year in the United States, for some reason we seem content to recite the same tired lines and fall back on the same tired excuses almost every time. Well, the whole point here is 2/3 of all gun deaths are suicides, and we know that. And that's not even including all the crime that's involved. So they don't ever say that statistic because you have to be scary and say tens of thousands. You can't say hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of hundreds or thousands of thousands. You have to say tens of thousands. It's a wordplay because it's not based on actual factual reality. But that doesn't stop this person because here we go. Here comes the sarcasm, and this is off the charts. The result. Nothing much changes, except the number of mass shootings and the number of active shooter drills our children are subjected to in school. The perceived God-given right to engage in Rambo cosplay trumps common sense legislation. There's no perceived God-given right. That is a God-given right. That is a right that we have as people of the United States. We have the Second Amendment. You don't like that because it conflates with your version of common sense, which, by the way, is, again, subjective. But you think you have the moral high ground because you are morally superior. It's kind of a trait on these people who write these articles, isn't it? But let's continue. The need to protect fantasies of one day heroically defending a suburban cul-de-sac outweighs our desire to protect those who needlessly lose their lives to gun violence every year. That has nothing to do with anything except you're speaking down in condescension and arrogance. That's all. That has nothing to do with anything. But this is the main point of the video I wanted to bring forward. They are actually advocating that it's better to be a victim than to defend yourself because the chance of you defending yourself, you could get hurt. No kidding. Let's check it out. The bill would jeopardize the safety of Washingtonians. That's what the Republicans said, Fortunato argued. Despite ample evidence that being armed into the teeth does not make you safer, and, in many cases, actually increases a person's chances of being shot during an assault. So here's my question, and this is the way you defeat this argument. So what do you suggest if I'm being assaulted? Because you're advocating don't carry a gun. So what's your point? What's your recommendation? Well, yeah, it's to be a victim. You just want me to take it. You want me to be a victim of whoever's doing whatever to me because they're a criminal. No way to defend myself because the off chance that because I tried to defend myself, I could get hurt. Do you understand how stupid that sounds? But that's the way you have to argue these points. Ask them why. The why is where it all unravels for them. But let's continue because it doesn't stop. Then again, attempts to respond to impassioned claims like Fortunatos with data, research, and reason are comically useless. We would all be better off acknowledging that gun debate is about people's feelings and nothing more. There's not a study or a pie chart that's going to sway anyone. I'm not sure which side he's talking about here because the conservative side or the gun right side has every reason, and it's not emotional. It's built into the Constitution. There is literally reasons for defending ourselves against a tyrannical government, against crime, against anything. And there's actually the reason the country exists that he's writing in is because the citizens had the firearms to defend themselves against a tyrannical nation. Who's arguing from an emotional standpoint? Just saying. And the last one, this is, I love these. It's very easy to get around the straits it would put on individuals, Walsh suggested. It's an interesting point, at least until you consider the obvious. Anything is better than nothing unless nothing is your goal. Any movement is fine, even if it doesn't make sense. If it infringes upon rights, it doesn't matter. We did something. And that's the point of this article. In Washington, they are just trying to do something, even though it doesn't make sense, even though it infringes upon the rights of American citizens. It doesn't matter. We did something, even though it was pointless. But you had the feeling of action, and that's what they're chasing. And that's what I've got for you on the bullet points this morning. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the 9 p.m. segment tonight. I'm Braden, signing out.